English translation 93rd contact. Tuesday 29th November 1977. E043ers.
Due to the known circumstances with the Signers, it was unfortunately not possible for me to come earlier.
You were here last Saturday in the late night when you invited the Signer girl up to you.
Sure, only I found no time for a contact. Besides, I was also very strained by the concerns that you, your group, and you discussed on Friday evening. I was shocked by the pronounced falsehoods, especially by Hans with such an acting ability that he was able to give the appearance of complete honesty. Our registrations of the events of that time prove that his words did not correspond to the truth, whereby you demand clarification of the real facts from me with complete justification. It would not have required your words on Friday that you would not leave me again until you have learned the truth from me. Quetzal, like me and Father, are of the unanimous opinion that you should all know the truth because the unbelievable untruths offered by Hans require this. I will begin this clarification with the film that went missing from you, which you considered stolen. But there was no theft, as Quetzal deduced from the records of that time. Because of your own carelessness, the film was thrown with garbage into an old goods container, which I believe you call a trash can. You yourself placed the film so unhappily on a table that it fell into the container when you made order. The container with the contents, and so also with the film, was then carried by yourself to the fireplace in the kitchen, where you set the contents on fire when you deposited it in the fireplace. However, the material did not burn completely and was therefore later carried to an open fireplace behind the house, where it should have been burned completely with other waste. Your wife, however, saw the films halfway destroyed by the fire and took it without informing you, and although she had known for weeks that you were missing the whole film, she did not inform you then because she saw in the footage a good opportunity to destroy you in your task. Because thoughts manifested in her brain which were of purely selfish origin, from which very evil intrigues, jealous dramas, and hysteria arose. By all possible means, infamous machinations and falsehoods, she tried to destroy your whole task, not considering that you yourself could be destroyed. Her purpose was to possess you only for herself and absolutely with all the infamous means at her disposal. So in many relationships she made unjustified accusations against you and suspected you of quite malicious things, forcing you slowly to do things you would otherwise never have done, especially in things directly related to her. Although you gave her all your love, she was in no way satisfied. On the contrary, the more you gave her, the more she demanded of you and wanted more and more. Her whole endeavor was directed only towards taking, with highly exaggerated fantasies of love, etc., which are unfulfillable for any life form, because they represent only pure fantasy structures, and which unfortunately is still the case with her in large parts today. On the other hand, she did not accept all your gifts of love, but pushed you away so often when you made an effort for her, after which she twisted the facts again and reproached you that you were in error, even though at least in these relationships the error lies solely with her, because she lives in a broken and destroyed world and blames you for it, even though you are not at all to blame for it. Through events in her youth, she has psychologically escaped into a completely destroyed world for which she makes you illogically liable and out of which she hates men and their world in a tragicomical manner. Paradoxically, however, when the concerns with the film material came to light, it emerged at the time that your wife only wanted to possess you for herself and alone, which stands in crass contradiction to her fixed ideas of her destroyed world, and has still survived to this day in an evil manner. So these, dear friend, are the explanations for the fact that she acted like this at that time, and mistakenly and unthinkingly assumed in the film material she found a suitable means of destruction, with which she hoped to destroy you and your work in order, paradoxically, to be able to chain you to herself. A quite confused form of thinking, as you can see, but very typical in particular for your wife, but also in general for all her loyal and erroneous ones, some of them born in the same sign of the zodiac, Scorpio, as she, because their forms of thinking are very confused and full of unfulfillable fantasies. This is the rule at any rate, but also the fact that an uncontrolled and unfounded urge for destruction always breaks through, which is unfortunately completely disregarded by your so-called astrologers with such failures, because they proceed from completely wrong basic pre-assumptions concerning the swinging wave implications of the stars, etc. Well, in the meantime, much seems to have changed for your wife's advantage. In many parts, at least outwardly, she has changed her attitude and advanced quite far, but this does not prevent her from suffering open relapses from time to time, which hopefully flatten out more and more. In this regard, I will not explain any new values to you, for you have already made similar observations yourself, as you told me recently, although you are silent to your wife about such observations, which is perhaps not entirely correct with her, because she is always eager for praise. Your thanks offered to her according to your manner, namely, that you make testimonies of love to her, which she does not understand and often even rejects, whereby she paradoxically arrives again at the opinion that you would not be grateful to her. For my part, however, I now know that you truly always thank in your own manner, and that you are unable to change it. This kind of thanking also seems to me much more lovable than a usual praise, which is why it will probably be better for your wife to accept your thanks in your manner and finally see you as you are in truth. She should finally recognize you as many others have recognized you. Then she will suddenly know and understand that she has a very good and lovable man by her side, one she could never compare with another, and for whom she would never find a replacement. It is her.
Stop the nonsense. You are acting like I am a Superman. I have often told you not to talk such nonsense. Maybe I am a little different from other men, that may be, but I am a crazy person, and I know 2 or 3 things more than others. But that is all.
You know that this is not so, as you say. Your backtalk arises from too much modesty. But please do not interrupt me now, because I still have other things to say to you. It is her, your wife, who has not yet noticed what has actually contributed so much to her change for the better in all the last months, which is why she should now hear it from me. Be assured, dear friend. Please explain it to her thusly, or she should read it herself in the report. Be assured, dear friend, that I am very much connected in love with you, which is why I want to explain the following to you. What I have explained about you is not in any manner based on reproaches, but solely and alone on findings of facts, which are intended to move you to think very thoroughly about everything, and above all about yourself, whereby your husband will be helpful to you in every respect, whereby he has been waiting for many years to be able to help you in this respect and in every other respect, because he feels love for you and with you in the most honest form, which you actually should have been aware of many years ago. You must and should truly leave your destroyed world, as your husband explains to you again and again in endless patience, in order to find your way into his world of well-being, in which real life alone takes place. And be aware, dear friend, as your husband tries to help you and has always helped you up to now, no other person in your world is able to do that. Also, with regard to your constant, seemingly advancing change for the better, for months, and all your progress in much faster form is very much due to the great love of your husband, who day after day and night after night tried very hard to shield you from evil negative external influences, which demanded a lot of his strength. Had he not done so, dear friend, all of your efforts for change would have been much more difficult for you, and without question, you would not have achieved so much in this short time. Truly, this should not deny you your very good will, which you have certainly built up, nor your apparently unusually strong effort to bring about and implement these changes for the better and for progress. I just want to explain to you that it was easier for you to do and achieve everything because your husband lovingly helped you to finally recognize and acknowledge what you should do. And understand, dear friend, your husband does not strive for you in vain, for his action is founded in love for you. These, my dear friend, are the explanations I have to give your wife. But she should also be aware that one should let the past be the past, and not to rummage in it, which you should absolutely explain to her so as not to make her think that you would become angry about past things and events.
Oh, I have done that so many times before, but it does not seem to bear fruit.
Hopefully it will be fruitful in the future, for your wife has made such great progress for the better as no other member of the group has, and I hope that honesty is involved in all matters and that we will not all be deceived by her.
I know that girl, but oh, good grief. Now she has heard everything herself, because she is sleeping upstairs in the center. Golly, I did not think of that at all. Wait a minute. I will go and have a quick look. Oh, girl, but now I have been babbling. But nothing happened. She sleeps quite peacefully, and apparently did not notice anything, and did not hear anything.
Excuse me, but I forgot to explain that I put her to sleep minutes later when you left her. Maybe fragments of our conversation will penetrate into her subconscious, but she will not wake up because of it.
Actually, I would be quite happy if she could hear us or see you, or if she could even speak a few words to you.
You know that, unfortunately, that cannot be.
Unfortunately, yes, but despite all your explanations, you do not have to tell me that these alone are decisive, that you do not get in physical contact with any other person. Something is not quite right. There is some secret behind it. I have known that for a long time, but I simply cannot find the answer to the riddle.
Apparently, nothing remains hidden for you. It is the truth. There is still a very good reason why we do not get in personal contact with people on the earth, but I will explain that to you later.
As you like.
Sure, because today there would not be enough time, because I still have other things to explain to you. In order to finish the explanations concerning the footage, the following is to be said. Hans prepared the pieces of film damaged by the fire and, at his own will and discretion, passed them on to Martin Sorge, who, together with his girlfriend, forged an evil intrigue against you and your group because they failed in a very dirty machination, which was built up in degenerated perversion. But I have no further explanations to make about it because these dirty concerns are well known to you. Hans, in any case, took care together with Martin Sorge, alias Martin Duval, and worked behind the scenes against you and the group. He fell seriously ill in his psyche, and as a notorious lover of untruth, he was able to deceive everyone, including you, and against your better knowledge from my side, by his related acting art, without any negative external influences having had a decisive effect on him. He cannot claim to have been affected by the negative forces of Giza or any other forces, for he acted in full consciousness and with absolute will of his own. What was not of his own will was that in various cases without his knowledge, our explanations were copied and passed on to your ill-wishers. But this was not always the case, because Hans also often acted recklessly, treacherously, and without thought, when he passed on information that he should not have voiced under any circumstances. Regarding your question, what should happen with him now, or what you should undertake in relation to him, I have the following advice to give you from Father. Hans shall no longer be allowed to go into the center in the future, namely until his whole attitude, his thoughts and actions, and his sick psyche block have turned for the better and towards healthiness. He should no longer possess our explanations and contact reports because the danger of unauthorized distribution, with or without his will, is far too great with him. Only those writings shall be handed out to him which do not deal with our contact report clarifications. Father also says that Hans's hobby for notorious falsehood is so pronounced that he often acknowledges falsehoods he has given out as facts and is no longer able to distinguish untruth and truth from one another, whereby reality often disappears from him and he thereby acknowledges falsehoods as given facts, which, incidentally, is also the case with your wife.
I know, even if they constantly think that they can cheat me if they twist or conceal certain things. But somehow I still have to try to help them.
Sure, but you should be much more careful. You should also follow my advice on this more closely. It is probably right that you should give everyone a chance, but you cannot do it endlessly. There must be an end at some point.
I know, but I cannot act the way they did and still try today, with me.
I know you have never been given a chance, and even today they still try to act towards you in the same manner. This leads you to the erroneous view that you must give all those chances that you have been denied and still are denied to others. But that, my friend, is only conditionally true. You, my friend, have been deprived of your chances and they are still deprived to you, so that you learn to fight and survive and continue to do so. You yourself extended your hand because you knew that you would have to fight very hard and that you could never afford to fail for the whole mission. But with other human beings on the earth, the case is different because they should be given chances so that they can seize them and learn in recognition of themselves. It is not about fighting in the same form as you are, because you had to learn to fight in order to survive, while the others have to learn to fight in order to learn.
Well said, my child, but somewhat complicated. Do you have any more explanations about this painful thing?
No, that is all now. What I still have to explain is the answer to Marcel's question regarding his observation of 29th September. As you told me through Marcel's statements, my inquiries have clearly shown that at the time mentioned, none of us were in the area described, also not Manara either, as I explained previously, that it could have been possible. It is therefore possible that someone from another group was in that area, which is beyond our control. I tried to find out more about this in Marcel, but unfortunately, nothing concrete could be found there either. But in return, things from him came through to me that hurt me. In particular, it was the concern that he felt depressed and somehow felt less worthy in your group. He has the rather bad idea that he is disadvantaged and evolutionarily lower than the others, which is why he will also send this to you in a letter that you will receive on November 30th, the day after tomorrow. This prompted me to pay attention to these things, to make a brief analysis of him, and to calculate that none of his fears and ideas apply in this regard. His state of evolution is much higher than that of more than half of all group members, from which he can infer that his fears are truly groundless. For some time, he has been depressed, and this leads him to such assumptions. The depressiveness is built up in him because he does not find enough opportunity to express his thoughts and questions and to get truthful answers to them. Basically, this has to do with the fact that you cannot discuss and talk to him very much, which is why he should make an effort to do this more often, for which purpose your common interests are certainly suitable if he comes to you an hour earlier on these days and can still talk to you. He also has another problem in this regard, that he feels disadvantaged regarding his questions to me because he believes that I put him aside and treat others' questions preferentially. But that is not as you yourself know, because when you ask questions, I answer them one by one, as they are given. On the other hand, however, I have a lot of other work to do that I also have to devote my attention to, which is why I do not find enough time to answer my personal letters, as is the case with you in many respects. So far, I have not been able to answer any of the last letters to me, but I will do so as soon as I have enough time. However, I do not know yet when that will be, but it will be so that I will first give Marcel's letter my attention.
That will be good. You know, sometimes I have letters to you for a very long time, because I do not always have them with me when you come, and I do not always think about them, although I get angry every time I forget them.
Sure, but that should be understandable because you also have a lot of other things to do.
I do, of course, but I am still annoyed. How did it actually end with the Signer girl whom you fetched last Saturday? It was probably the 26th of November after my call.
Everyone is with us at the station, including her ship, whose intergalactic propulsion was destroyed by an explosion. The Signers have a very ancient technology, which was passed to them less than 4,000 years ago, for which we do not have the necessary knowledge. For this reason, it will take a long time before we have repaired the ship, after which it will be returned to the homeworld.
But spare parts could be brought in from the home planet.
Unfortunately, this is not possible, because for this outdated technology, the necessary knowledge is missing there, too, and furthermore, the Signers are technologically absolutely untalented, which is why they are not able to repair their technological devices, etc. themselves.
That is not possible.
But that is so.
And how long were they underway now? And why did they even come into our system?
They were underway for 4 long years, more than 2 years of which they drove in free fall through space after the explosion of the propulsion unit.
By free fall, you mean they were drifting through space without a drive, right?
Certainly.
Aha, and they reached here through the space driving.
Certainly.
That they did not starve to death.
They spent the time in artificial deep sleep and therefore needed no food.
I understand. Maybe they were still lying in water tanks and were woken up by a robot after a long bath.
Sure, but how do you know?
I have seen such scenes in utopian movies before. Are you twisting my arm?
That is no joke.
Huh?
I said it was not a joke.
You mean...
Certainly, it is like I explained.
That is not possible. Man, oh man, then the fantasies of the utopian writers are not even far-fetched.
You also write in an inspiring form.
Of course, I should know that. But tell me, the short conversation last Saturday with the little child, is it not possible that it will be passed on to me like you did the reports? It would be very interesting for us. And can I see the thing again and maybe take a picture of her?
Sure, all this should be possible. I will ask Asina.
That is how the little child introduced herself to me.
Sure, Asina is a very kind being.
I noticed that, damn it. Ha! I almost got scared after all. I did not know that they had similar customs to us in certain relationships.
Ha 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 ha!
Just enjoy yourself. Maybe it will also happen to you.
Sure, but it is ha 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 ha. I was also surprised.
Then the little girl pressed her cold fish frog beak to your cheek? It seemed to me like a kiss.
Sure, and it should also be a kiss because that is the Signer's regular greeting form.
It should be the same here. It would change the world a bit. But it would not be appropriate here. But tell me, why did they not use their radios or something when their ship's propulsion exploded?
Because the remote communication devices were also destroyed. But now, my friend, I have to go because your wife is already inside for the required time. Next time she should be in for 2 hours, but do not leave her alone. You know why? I cannot give you the remaining times now because there is not enough time. I will therefore come back in 2 or 3 days and give you the dates. Until then, be quite happy, because in the meantime I will also try to record the conversation between you and Asina, after which I will transmit it to you in the entire passage. I will also talk to her, and surely she will agree for a picture. Farewell now and goodbye. Dear greetings to all group members as well. Please tell them and do not forget it.
It is then in the report, and so I cannot forget it. Take care, and take all dear greetings from us all with you also, because I am also to relay these to you with love.
Very dear thanks.